Hey everybody, and welcome along to this week's edition of the Irish Golfer Podcast. Peter Finnan here, and a bit of an outside broadcast today. We're in the PGA of Ireland offices on the Palmer South course here at the K Club, and joined by Tim Rice. How are you, Tim?
Hello everyone.
Order of Merit winner Tim Rice.
Finally.
Finally. We'll get into that now in a minute, but it's delighted to be out here. It's something that we do every year with the Order of Merit. We've had some changes to the Order of Merit this year with new partners with the PGA, with Elavon. So visit elavon.ie, who are official partners of the PGA in Ireland, to see what they can do for you and help your business in any way. So elavon.ie. So yeah, they got involved this year on the Order of Merit side of things, and yeah, you decided to win your first Order of Merit.
Well, it adds to it when you have a partner like that, and they've supported us the whole year, and hopefully we're continuing that relationship. It does give it a bit more gravitas, you know, when you're got a big company like that. And obviously we're always trying to keep up, promote things, get better every year. So we're delighted that they've supported us, and they're very nice people, Declan, Orla, etc., etc. So it's nice having them around. I hope they're enjoying us. That's the main thing. Because they're not enjoying us, they'll just leave us, right? We better be nice to them.
I know it is. No, it seems to be like for year one of a sponsorship like that, it's getting out there, it's getting done, and that's the main thing. Yeah. On to bigger and better things next year then as well. That's exactly good.
Well, hopefully it's mutually beneficial, hopefully, yeah.
Keep it evolving and keep building. Right, well, back to the golf course then. I find it hard to believe that it was your first Order of Merit, because you've been knocking on the door. You've been around a long time, Timmy. We're no spring chickens.
I'm a great disappointment. That's what I in Limerick, you know, when I was growing up, a lot of people would have thought, God, Tim, you know, he's so dedicated to his golf and he loves it so much. He's surely going to go somewhere, you know. And year after year, you know, big failure after failure. So, you know, it's nice to do something positive here, you know.
But, like, when you do look back, it is something that you've, like, you know, you want to be the best at the end of the season. You know, you have a championship to your name as well back in Moy Valley in 2017 as well. Like, little milestones you tick along the way. Like,
yeah, I mean, the truth is, I say this to some people sometimes. They go, well done the other day, Tim, you did great. I said, well, to be honest, when I was growing up, I had planned to win the British Open from the age of 7. I watched Seve hold that putt in St Andrews, and that had me hooked on golf ever since I saw that reaction. So I decided that was going to be me. So basically, the plan was to win the British Open, ideally at St Andrews. And everything I've done in my life since then, golf-wise, has been an absolute disappointment since, because nothing will ever reach that level. And it's not looking great. I'm running out of time here for that to happen. So it's kind of funny, and as everyone knows about golf, it is a continual disappointment. So I suppose, as people say, be grateful that you're able to play such an amazing sport. To be so in love with it as well, which is a lot of people fall out of love with it. I've maintained the love of it, and I have to be grateful for. And so a year like this, when you do come out on top at the end, I'm trying to appreciate it, even though I'm always giving out to myself. It's nice to do something. At least my mother is a bit happier. Goes, God, would you ever smile? You know,
it is evident you love the game. You know, and it's one thing that always sticks out when I'm around you, like your passion for improvement, for bettering yourself. Like, there's no such thing as perfection in golf.
Are you sure? Please.
Well, looking at you, there's never that continuous pursuit of happiness.
I remember years ago hearing that when Bob Torrance and Harrington, is well known in sport, you strive for perfection knowing you never get there. And I would have taken that with a serious degree. I mean, spending hours sitting in a living room holding a grip, you know, trying to have the best grip in the world. You know, silly stuff like that. You know, you think, what is this person doing? Just sitting there with a grip in his hands. And lads used to laugh at me in airports. I'd have a grip going around with me on planes and stuff, so I could just hold something. So, because wasted time if I wasn't working on my game on the airplane, you know. So, you do strive for perfection. But the problem with golf is it got that horrible addiction factor to it. I often say that it saved more marriages than anything else, because you see guys on a wet Tuesday night in Spawell, where I teach, and they're down there and they're banging their golf club off the ground, giving out to themselves. And you say, that's their addiction, you know what I mean? Otherwise, they could be philandering around the place, you know. But now, no, they're down there working on their game, striving for betterment, and it has that problem. And I was the most addicted. I'm up there, not quite as bad as Pádraig Harrington, but very, in Irish terms, very addicted.
Jeez, you're very close. I'd
close,
go
maybe.
I've never seen Pádraig Harrington I don't see Pádraig Harrington shooting 63s and 4s and then changing his clubs the next day.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he's won 3 majors. You know, maybe he's a bit smarter than I am.
No, we'll get deeper into all that now in a minute.
Okay.
But on your own season, you've played a lot of golf. That's why I know you still and that's not because you're busy teaching, you're busy doing other stuff, but there's only one man in the region this year has played more golf than you. Paul Ivers played 29 events. You've played 27 events.
Okay.
And you've been so consistent looking at your results, 6 wins. You had 2 wins last year, so you're you've really upped this year. You're not a great keeper of stats yourself, are you?
Useless at that, yeah.
You're useless at that. 42 under cumulatively across the season.
Okay.
A fair whack ahead of anybody else.
Okay.
Across the season. And only Paul Ivers, I said, has played 29 events this season.
Okay.
Yeah, of those 27 events though, 6 wins, only outside the top 10 5 times. You're.
God, I'm really good, I'm telling
No,
you.
but consistency.
I think I'm lucky in the sense that I teach in Spowell and in Limerick, and so I'm able to go off and play maybe more so than some other people. So if I see an event, I'm going there, and I love playing on the region because when so many of us who have played, we all at different levels try to make it at one, and a few guys like Damien McGrain and David Higgins and Simon obviously did very well on the tour. But there's a lot of us there who didn't quite get that far. And we're so competitive, and it's great to have something in Ireland that we can look forward to. And it is very competitive. They really, I guess it's like being a boy again. You're going back out trying to beat. And you'd have you have Walker Cup players, you've European Tour players. You've got guys who most guys have played for Ireland at some point, a lot of the amateurs. So it's a very high level of golf, actually. And it's only when you start playing it, as Niall Carney said, you start realising you've got to shoot 7, 8, 9 under par to win a Pro-Am. And it's good. It's very good for all of us that we're able to keep on each other's toes like that. And we have an Elavon Order of Merit, so we can measure up. So, regarding just... I struck on something last May in a technical sense, and I think I said this earlier on in the year, it's got to do with a kettlebell, and I stayed with it for most of the season. Now I lost it a little bit towards the end, I was disappointed, so it actually meant that I was doing the same thing every week, same drill every week, whereas normally I'd be changing, and that shows why I did manage to be a bit more consistent. So that's a lesson for every amateur there, trying to stick at one thing for one summer rather than chopping and changing every time you have a bad round. So
that's the way you had been before.
I still am. I'm it died. It died. The kettlebell died 2 months later, but it's back now actually. So
okay.
I'll talk to you another time about that.
You had a new putter in the bag this year, so
a few new putters now.
But you've stuck that Spider. You've seen you a lot with this year.
Yeah, but he did. Pádraig Dooley special came back again there recently. A PXG putter. Pádraig, he doesn't even know I took it out of his office, and. But I do like experimenting with different equipment. But I have stuck. You're right. Pádraig gave me a set of clubs last year that were his. I just took them, and I've stuck with those, which is made. Again, this adds consistency. Try not to change your equipment. Try not to change your teacher every time you have a bad round. Try and do something.
We see it's mad. You say that because I see that a lot with younger lads coming through, do so well through the amateur ranks, get to tour level and get their first year out on tour, and they go changing equipment and they go moving stuff, maybe for sponsorship or money or the best things, and then they just fade away. And there is a lesson to be learned on consistency and use the tools that got you there.
Yeah, it's really interesting that point you're making there, because it's turning professional from a high amateur level, playing for Ireland, playing Walker Cup. Statistically, very few. We had a famous 5 Walker Cup players, and statistically, not guys who are going to have a sustained career. And the problem for guys who are a little bit below, say you got the top 2 guys, right, like Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy, and they're special. And then you got 2 guys below that who might be journeymen. And then you got 2 guys below that again, say, who are not quite even journeyman standard. The 2 guys at the bottom probably do need to change something, right? Whereas everyone's been told don't do anything differently. But the top 4 guys, okay, you got your 2 superstars, your 2 journeymen, and then you got 2 guys who are kind of on their coattails, and they're told don't change anything. They probably need to do that. And they're the guys that get given out to, you changed everything, you were silly. But actually, they probably realise themselves, I'm not quite at it here. I have to do something different. And they're generally the guys you're talking about. Why did you change your equipment? Why did you change your coach? You were doing fine. But I think in their own heads, they knew deep down, something's got to change here. I'm not at the Shane Lowry level. Yeah. I'm not at the Tom McKinnon level.
I need to evolve something to close the gap.
And if when it doesn't work for those guys, they get given out to. So it's a real catch-22 here. Plenty of guys who haven't changed and don't make it, and they probably look back and go, I should have changed.
Regret changing, yeah.
So it's not simple here making it on the European tour.
No, it's not. And like
or any level.
I've even seen like recently, like when you see a Stuart Grehan in the last couple of weeks stepping away from the professional game, like he won one of the events here last year. He won the big event here last year, and now he's getting his amateur status back.
He found sense, as somebody said the other day to me. Finally, somebody woke up, and in the sense that he's not going to let golf dictate his mood. But Stuart's a great example of how many talented players we have in Ireland who are really on the brink, and it doesn't happen for everyone. And I suppose there's a challenge in Irish golf at the moment. How do we get back to the level that we had before? Now, it's not that simple. There's way too many countries playing golf. But can we start to get more guys on the main tour and challenging a bit more? Because we've got in a little bit of a lull at the moment, as we know. And maybe we have to look at our coaching, figure out how we can do that better. Obviously Denmark are everyone's going, how the hell when we were young playing boys golf, Denmark were the worst country nearly to play against. They were horrendous, and now they're the best. So what have they done? So maybe we can tap into something there and figure out, okay,
because you see these guys, like you go to the Q schools.
Like
it's
amazing.
You see these guys and having to deal with, I'm not going to say deal with failure, but deal with not being where they want to be at the end of a week like that. And it's one thing that always stuck out for me when I talk to these guys, and they do see like Team Sweden over there in a huddle in the corner, and they have an ex-tour player with them, or the French have like Raphael Jacquelin out with them, and these young kids, and when they don't succeed and they don't fail, they do it together. Our lads seem to go back to a hotel room on their own and just, where do I go next?
And I think that's probably what I believe they're doing some review at the moment in Golf Ireland to try and figure out how we can do things better. See, what's happening in golf, of course, is that the information's out there now to get good, and people are really strong. You look at Aberg; he's like the prototype of what you'd want the golfer to look like. And if you're not heading down that road with a community of great golfers, you're falling behind. It's no good anymore just relying on some sort of talent you had hitting the ball low around the links golf course. You got to be able to play golf at a very higher striking level of ball striking. Then you need mentally to be way up there, and your short game has to be like Seve. You need a lot more than you probably did 40 years ago, maybe. It's really become so tight, the margins. So I think they probably are going to look and see, right, where are we falling down in that. It costs money, that's the problem as well, to support the people. Maybe we need more funding for them. Anyway.
No, it's a lot of interesting points on it, and it's always like a mere mortal like me, like a hacker, when I look at guys like you, and it's always hard to make out the separator. Why are some guys so successful, why they're not? And a lot of it does boil down to mentality. Sure. And how you deal with adversity, how you deal with what the game throws at you, what life throws at you, how you go about like that mental fortitude or that strength. It's something I look at you, and you're built. No, you have a seriously strong man. I don't know how you go back to the well so often.
But that's the addiction, that's called, right?
Yeah.
So that's not,
the gambler in you. That's the gambler.
It's a problem. And it's not. It's just falling back. It's actually, I'm trying to get out of that. Going back to the well, everything.
Hi, my name is Tim, and I'm a golfer.
I'm a golfer. That's exactly what it is, and I think a lot of guys can relate to that. I probably have it worse than most, but you see, when you taste something like, oh, I can play on the European Tour. I played a couple of European Tour events, even made the cut once, and you taste, okay, I can do this, right? It's there inside your soul. I can do it. I can compete, and that never really leaves you if you don't make it. You're always going, maybe. We see Cormac Sharvin coming back to play again, and he's doing really well again now. So he must be getting that graw back that he maybe lost for a while. And so once you get that little taste of potential, and it's an amazing life, as all the pros will tell you, if you can make it and make a living out of playing golf. So that's what keeps you going all the time in the back of your head. And golf is funny. Everyone knows this. It's the only sport in the world where a guy who's 2000 in the world can beat number one in the world. It doesn't happen in tennis, sprinting. Rarely happens. And I can't think of any other disciplines where someone way behind the number one guy can beat him on a given week. And that's the problem with golf, right? And so golf is a mean, cruel sport. Don't take it up, anyone.
No, it is. It always fascinates me in that, just because even when you look at then on the successful side, we take someone like Rory McIlroy and how he goes back to the well every week. He's been, but everyone has their opinions on Rory and how he. I just don't know how he has the mental capacity to deal with everything he has around him. Produces, and it's a different guy every week taking him off his pedestal. Billy Horschel come up 2 weeks ago. Before that, it was Rasmus at the Irish Open, and it was DeChambeau at the US. So the one constant in all these results is Rory McIlroy there all the time. How does he? Well, as a player, how do you do that?
He has a picture in his head of him with himself with a green jacket, right? And that ain't going to leave him. And I think it's going to be one of the greatest days, and it will be the greatest day in Irish sport when he gets that. He'll figure it out, I hope. I mean, look, there's no guarantees, obviously, but I think in the back of his head, every time there's a disappointment, he's still got that carrot. And he knows, obviously, he's good enough to do it. He has just had to figure out how to do it. And the more people doubt him, the more maybe he goes, F you, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you. And I think, you see the Irish rugby team, they have that mentality of, we're going to show people. So I think Rory, that's how he goes back to the well. I think he pictures a green jacket on his shoulders. I hope he does.
What's the carrot for Tim Rice? What do you see?
Look, I mean,
you used to see the claret jug, you've told me.
My boss, Peter Lorry, has just started the seniors tour, right? And did really well there in the British Open, actually. He's British seniors. And he's kind of now my idol. I say, Peter, I'm the seniors tour. Okay, I have a few years to that. Maybe I can get ready for that. And maybe, have some joy there. But it's very hard to get on that. But we've had examples of some PGA pros like Brendan McGovern.
Brendan McGovern
very
really well, yeah.
So he's a real inspiration, Brendan, to all of us that, okay, we can get, that's a carrot again for a lot of us who are in our 40s and, okay, where are we going next? So, yeah, you certainly look at that. I still have notions that, through our PGA circuit here, we go into playoffs in Cyprus. And we play against England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and the top guy in that, like Simon did this year, got into the Irish Open, Wentworth.
British Masters.
So that's still a huge incentive. I want to play in the Irish Open someday before I die, right? So I'm going to keep.
Really, have you not played in an Irish Open?
No, I've never played in the Irish. A couple of times I won't go into the lingering details, but one time
go on.
I was winning the Euro Pro Tour, and I've got word out that because I was leading the Euro Pro that I would get an Irish Open spot because they had, back in the day, this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, something happened, right? The spot got robbed, and I remember I was distraught because I was actually playing quite well at the time, and I thought, God, I'm going to do a Shane Lowry on it, and I'm going to go away and win my first year naively. But anyway, it never happened. So maybe could we start a campaign here that, the winner of the Order of Merit gets into the Irish Open,
We'll have a shout with Elavon. Yeah, it did used to be, yeah.
Used to be.
Well, it used to, top 10 used to get in when it was Smurfit European Open days and stuff like that.
They were the real
halcyon
days for sure. But maybe we could do an online. I'll leave that to you. Irish Golfer Magazine. Thanks.
Hashtag let Tim play. We're getting it going.
Maybe definitely no chance now if that's going to happen. Anyway.
No, that's interesting. That would be something that. Yeah. That's one thing you really want to take off in your professional career.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, whatever about winning the British Open.
But just the honour of playing in your national championship.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, amazing. I mean, look, back in the day, I think the European Tour used to give spots to PGA pros, to all their Portuguese Open, Spanish Open, and then they'd invite 6 amateurs. And the thinking behind it, I think this has been forgotten actually, that it was to promote the event as the year went along. And, you know, all year long, people were trying to get into it. And actually, the local interest, say you had 5 amateurs and 5 pros playing, they would bring quite a large amount of people through the gate, nearly pay for themselves. You might get 1,000 members of Limerick Golf Club going up to watch your local pro playing. So that's revenue, actually, in its own sense. I know it sounds silly, but there was that idea that we need to, in our local open, support it adds to the event. The kind of, you know, but it kind of got lost, and once you lose these things, it's very hard to get them back. So there's a bit of negotiating to be done there, actually, regarding how can we not keep just a little fraction of the end of a European Tour event for the local. You know, it's not going to kill anyone. You know, people saying, "Oh, you're taking a spot from the European Tour guy who's trying to get his card," but actually, they had originally added on spots for local interest. That was the idea. So those added on spots have been taken away. So maybe they could look at trying to do, say, a race to the Irish Open. Yeah. You know, even on the amateur circuit or on our circuit, a race to the Irish Open.
We used to have qualifiers. We used to have
qualifiers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Monday qualifier thing. But like, it is hard, and it's the juggling act at the top of how golf has evolved commercially over the last 15 years. And it kind of, and we won't, this is not a negative, but it has been to the detriment of the PGA player trying to progress along and play on your top tours. It's significant. It's really important that we keep the Order of Merit and the playoffs and stuff like that as part of. So you have something at the end of the season to strive for and work for. Yeah. Like when you're saying the competition is so deep of guys. Some guys that have opportunity, some guys that don't, of moving on, and to have that carrot, like for you now to know. You've told me I'd love to tee it up in my national championship. You're one step closer to that now.
Yes, that's
you go to the playoffs, you go to Cyprus, you play well, you see what Simon does, and you're there.
Yes, and it's you're right. It's a total incentive, and I think Ivan Morris, who works for your magazine, has always said, like, golf is not about just this. You know, he's talking about us guys. Like, it's about your promoting everyone at any level. So you got to remember, like, you know, you're building a championship course. You're changing the golf course to make it harder for who? Some guy who can hit the ball 300 yards, but actually, who you're catering for there? So why? Like, it's so the way Sky Sports and all this stuff. It's all about the main guys, but actually, the sport itself is about everyone. So you're trying to make sure that the lower down you go, you keep maintaining that interest, that incentive to play at any level. And you're going to be very careful, I think, you know, if it's only going to be about the elite golfer.
With no cut and all this
all that
crap.
Stuff. I mean, and actually it drives people away from the sport.
It does.
Bores people, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, look, all these things have to be teased out in the world of golf at the moment, the chaos that's going on.
Do you watch golf? Outside the majors?
No, I don't. I don't watch golf. I used to watch it a bit, but no. And that's a reflection, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, but in fairness to golf, like, that's tennis as well. If tennis is on, I don't watch it. And in fact, I've stopped watching the majors in tennis now, even a little bit. Where I used to watch them religiously. I wouldn't miss a day of Wimbledon. Don't watch it quite as much. Too much of it on, maybe. So sports, I suppose this is...
But the shine has gone off certain things. Like outside the majors, this is my opinion. But I'd be like, I grew up, I'd watch everything that moves. I think this is amazing. You aspire to do this, and
I suppose I wonder, is that just us? Maybe are younger guys watching a regular tennis European Tour event?
Depends who's playing, I suppose. That's maybe, the thing. They watch it more for players than the sport, is my feeling.
Okay. Well, I mean, why is it still being shown on television though? There must be a demand there. Yeah. Are they just filling hours? But no, it is a problem. Right?
It's sad to see what's happening on a global scale to the sport, like how the top table are kind of carving it up amongst themselves, and they're like. Look,
I mean, when you have 25 million for winning the FedEx Cup, in that, like, it's obnoxious.
63 million a year he had on the golf course.
It's too much. Like, it's gone. It's like life in general. They say the gap between rich and poor. You know, your Bill Gates is getting 1% of the world owns whatever, a small amount of the world owns certain. So same in anything, the gap has to narrow between top and bottom in everything, right? So people know this, but nobody. It's very hard to once it goes that direction. How do you drag it back? Because
sponsors are the only way to drag it back. We're big enough Elavon and stuff like that, but sponsors on the like FedEx have have to. Like, what are they?
Right. Well,
this is such a deep Pandora's box we're getting into here now.
But everyone, the thing is, everyone knows it. Like, anyone with common sense knows what we're just talking about.
Well, viewing
here.
figures are miles down.
Miles down. So they're going to have a look at it. Maybe we're heading towards a big bang, like climate change, carnage in golf sense.
But is a big bang at the top such a bad thing for what's happening at our level, at an amateur level, at a PGA? Yeah. Like, is it bad? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm nearly wanting a big bang at the top of golf because
something needs to happen.
They can take the pain. The money is there. They've all just split it amongst each other. Like, it's just that. It's so many layers to it.
You're spot on. There's layer after layer after layer. How do you stop something that's going in one direction? Like, it needs to be hit rock bottom. Kind of funny. Everything's going up, but you could argue it's going towards the bottom. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. We could talk about this for a long time.
Oh, this is deep. This is deep. But back in your own season, right? And we spoke about mentality. We spoke about adversity and going back to the well and stuff like that. Like, looking at some of your results this year, and the one just sticks out. Like, I cannot get my head around it. There's like Bellewstown. There are not too many course records that start off with a treble bogey on the first. Talk me through that day.
It's funny, you're playing a Pro-Am, right? You're playing with 3 amateurs. And these 3 guys who I really enjoyed their company, and I actually won them, came in for a lesson recently. And so, they're expecting something, right? When they're playing with a pro, it's like, okay, we'll have a good day out here. So, you start off with a triple bogey. And, I'm running back after I lost my ball. I run back to the tee box like a madman, jogging back, running back up, hit it on the green, 3 putts, 7. And they're kind of going, what the hell have we got here? You know what I mean? Like, and one of them said something on the second tee, like, it's going to be a long day now, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it is. Yeah, in my head, And I'm thinking to myself, okay, could I feign an injury here now? Say my hip is sore and go home because I'm 3-0, after this. The next thing, all of a sudden you stop giving a hoot. You just go, right, I'm going to play the next 17 holes. I'll try and enjoy the company. I'm out of this now. It's going to be a long day. And all of a sudden, because you stop giving a hoot, you'd start hitting at every flag, and all of a sudden you're making birdies. And then one of these rare days in golf where you aim at the hole and it goes in the hole. And next thing you know, I don't know, 10 birdies.
11
right,
birdies in the next 15 holes.
Right, okay. So this happens, and it doesn't happen very often. And like, it maybe is there a lesson there for everyone? Like, come on.
But getting out of your own way. Getting out of your own way. Like, it does seem...
That's the famous Irish rugby. Paul O'Connell has told me that's the famous Irish rugby phrase at the moment. Get out of your own way in everything you do. And because
I would always have you as a like very methodical about what you do, process driven.
Yes,
just everything. There is a process. There's a hierarchy of things that happen in Tim Rice's head to pull the trigger.
Right.
And I would watch you on a golf course, and this is how I look at you like you're a chess player on a golf course. Yes. You A to B. Whereas that day it was like, look, do you know what?
Maybe, it's just. Well, I think I am very, when I teach people, I am very strict because I'm a disciple of the Howard Bennett School of Golf, Pádraig Harrington's first coach. And he had this thing called GAAP, grip, aim, alignment, posture, before every shot. And you have to do it. You got a feedback sheet at the end of your coaching. If you don't do this, we don't really want you back here. You have to have a process. So that started back when we were young. Howard gave us really good. And I probably lost that thing over the years. And then when you start teaching people, I'm teaching in Limerick and Spawell, and I start to realise that nobody has this GAAP that Pádraig Harrington would have learnt, right? You say to everyone, this is part of your swing. You have to have a routine that's strict. So that's why funny enough, when I started teaching, I started realising everyone needs this routine, or some form of it at least, and I'm not doing it myself. So why am I teaching these people and I'm not doing it myself? So I started doing that once I started teaching a lot, when I stopped playing so much. And then it actually made me a lot more consistent. So that's why you see me like a madman. Now, the reason it's a bit too much is because there's so much going on in my head generally over the years. And, I'm trying to clear but I have got a little better at clearing my head. But everything is a process, right? Like a rugby kicker, if you like. And so it's interesting if you're asking, like, why am I like a a chess player is a good example, trying to figure it out. And then you might have a day like that where it all comes together.
But it comes together because you're not thinking about it.
Trying anymore, yeah.
You just, the rule book went out the window.
Well, I think what happened was I started saying target to myself in my head over the ball instead of, don't hit it there. So every golfer's gone through this. You get the day, I'm just going to hit it. Most amateur golfers, they're on the 13th hole and they've had the worst day of their life and they go, to hell with this, I'm going to whack it. And then they come in and they go, last 5 holes, I was brilliant. That's simply because they gave up trying, they just whacked it. And so at any level, everyone can relate to that. So I suppose the trick is, can you get on the first tee and have that attitude?
It's hard.
Right, it's hard, but it probably is the only way to do it. Steve Davis thing, right? You try and play snooker under the highest pressure, like you're with your pals.
Yeah.
Right.
That
takes a bit of training.
It does. Do you like because again the word methodical I use of how you approach. Do you ever struggle to pull the trigger? I've seen you a lot of times standing over a ball for a long time, stand off. Yeah. What is going on there when you're struggling to pull the trigger?
Is a complete madness. I got into this thing with my head position. If you really want to know, everyone who watched me play golf knows.
Because your left eye is over your right foot.
I have this thing about my left eye looking at the ball. But unfortunately then I started wondering, was I doing it too much? And I get over the ball and I go, that's too much. Oh, my eyes are in too out. Oh, my eyes are... And I try to tone that down a bit, but I still... The worst thing I can do is get on my own for a while and start practicing, because I'll come up with all sorts of ways to look at the ball and do sort of mad stuff. I think I've got a little better at it than I used to be, but it started many years ago with reading an article about Jack Nicklaus. And Jack Nicklaus said that Jack Grout, his coach, coached him to look at the ball out of his left eye. And then I started studying golf and I started reading, God, everyone does this. A lot of the pros do it. And I started looking at the ball and it took me years to actually figure out and still go through this. So you're asking why I don't pull the trigger. Sometimes going on in my head is, am I doing it right? And it's just a form of madness. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. No, I'm just interested. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, I know, but that's a long way of saying I'm being a bit silly. Okay.
Like, there's a lot of water under the bridge. If you were to go back 20 years and have a chat to yourself, and have a chat to a younger Tim,
right,
as the direction you're going, what you're doing, what the thought process is behind all this, what advice would you give yourself?
I think I was stuck. I went to a man who was a very controversial teacher called Jimmy Ballard, and I think I would have stuck with him. My dad once said to me, Tim, why don't you go over there and live beside him in Florida and stay there and work, get a job over there and work? And he was 100% right. I didn't do this. I came back to Ireland and I kind of left to my own devices. And I really wish I'd stuck to what he had coached Seve and Sandy Lyle and Curtis Strange, and they all became world number one at one point. And he had a lot of information. But when I got on my own, I decided to do my own thing. And this is an advice to any golfer, like, if you're going to get guided by someone, stay being guided by that person if you believe in them. What I did was I decided to teach myself, and I really went down a bad road. And, I would have gone to other teachers then and got different information, and then I go back to that. And I really, looking back, I should have stuck with that one thing, because when I went to him first, I came back and I won that Europro. I was, winning events on it. I really was going well. And then I decided then to take on to another level on my own. I just felt, it was just, I was so curious as well, Peter, that I kept reading every book on golf. Yeah. Start going down and read, I'll read this, I'll video this, so I'm just, I probably wasn't suited to, looking back, I wasn't suited to being a proper golfer. A proper golfer doesn't give a hoot about anything. They don't want to know stuff.
Scotty Scheffler mindset of just A to B, just out.
Right, they don't want to study golf. If you're going to study golf, you might as well be a golf teacher. And sadly, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. You enjoy it, though.
I love it. I love teaching. I really get a kick out of it. I'm fascinated by looking at someone with 2 arms and 2 legs and a stick, and the ball's going at right angles. And you've got to figure out how both of you got to figure out together what's going on here, and it's really enjoyable for me. Maybe not for them, but you try. In fairness, I think I teach very simply. I would have played in a very complicated manner, but actually, when I teach, I dare not go down the road of complication because I know what it did to me. So I think I've become a better teacher as I've got more experience. Because I know where you can lead if you start talking about angles or degree of attack and all this nonsense that's going on at the moment, I just avoid that world. And I think...
So when you're teaching, do you use a TrackMan or anything? Or
no, no, we have a TrackMan in Limerick where but I don't use one in Spawell. It's not where I'm trying to teach golf like a sport.
So it's ball flight and it's
well,
control,
yeah, but it's not more so. The ball flight will look after itself if you move correctly. You're trying to show people how to move correctly, throw, basically. They used to say golf is a throw. So are you able to throw? Okay. Can you... If I show you how to throw, or you're able to throw, put a club in your hands and do the same thing. Okay, now you're halfway there. If you can throw, you can play golf, and now we give you a routine to set you up properly. And most people don't need any more than that. And Ben Hogan wrote that in 1955. He said, if you can throw a basketball two-handed, you put a club in your hands and do the same thing, you're there. You're nearly there. Yeah. And then half his book in 1955 was about the setup. So the greatest ball strikers ever lived is telling people, have a good routine and throw. And I think I'd be quite religious about that now at the moment. But so yeah, that's where I'm at regarding teaching.
Mistakes or regrets, they're tough words. Okay. But like for you as a pro, as we're saying, going back to that, what would you look at? What do you think is a big mistake that you've made in your professional golf career that it set you off on a path that maybe you weren't happy with, and it took you so long to round back to where you were as such?
Well, yeah, that's hard to... I mean, I think that's what I spoke about a minute ago, not sticking to one thing with one coach. That was the biggest problem. I probably was at the level that... You remember we spoke earlier on about 6 guys, 2 superstars, 2 journeymen, and then 2 guys who are not quite good enough. I was those 2 guys at the bottom who weren't quite good enough.
Really? That's your mentality on it?
Yeah, no, I think so. And then, see, it's not that I wasn't talented enough. You know, I had a lot of power. I had quite a very good short game my whole life. So it wasn't that I didn't have the tools to be the journeyman, or maybe even better, maybe. But whatever way I was playing the game, my scores showed me I am not at the journeyman level, right? So I'm that guy, right? So I did realise that quite young. I played on an Irish team one year in Carnoustie, and Michael Hoey and Graham McDowell were the top 2 guys. And one of the days I was picked 3rd to go out. So you kind of think, oh, maybe I'm the 3rd best guy here. But the difference between me and Michael and Graham was a chasm. Like, it was way different. They could control a ball, I could never do it. So I think I don't have a regret as such, except when I did start to change stuff, I changed every time. I kept changing. But I do think maybe I did need to change. If I turned pro, I wasn't getting on the European Tour after a few years. Okay, what are you going to do now? I changed. Yeah. I probably went down the right road, actually, at the beginning. I did well in the Euro Pro, and then I decided to change again. So, you're bringing up a really interesting point. Getting good guidance, right? You think you can do it on your own. I thought I could always do everything on my own. And so if you're asking me the number one thing, I'd say good guidance. I didn't have good guidance, and it was an arrogance on my part that I thought I could do everything on my own. Listen to no one really. And I was being told by people, you need help, you need to do this. I kind of went in one ear out the other. So if I had any advice for a young guy trying to do any discipline, get good guidance, and if you trust that guidance, stick with it. Okay.
And who are the guardians of guidance in this country, in this game? The PGA.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There you go. So get a good PGA coach.
Get a good PGA coach. That was a nice little segue there. I like that. Well done, I like that. No, it is. No, it's very interesting. I love that the mental side of things like that, and like it's evident. Your love and passion for the game is so evident, and that's why, like, when we get to the age we're at now, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations change. When you've seen throughout your lifestyle, you've brought up there. Michael Hoey, G-Mac, guys like that, kick on and do. Yeah. You're surrounded by that life when you were younger. That's a hard thing to be in when you see everybody else do this, and then you're going like, I think I'm good enough to do it. Right. Why is this not happening for me?
Yeah. God, poor me. God, what a hard life I've had. Constant striving. You make a very good point there. Exactly, it is hard, and there's hundreds of guys like me who want it.
It can torture you.
Yeah, it tortured Tim. I used to say that to people all the time. It tortured me completely. But I suppose I'm lucky. I love golf, so I was able to, just through the love of the game, be able to overcome the pain of it. A lot of guys just gave up. To be honest, they were smarter. I'm not doing this anymore. Can be, I don't need this torture. I kind of embraced it in one sense.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I'm still here, grinding away. The fascination of the whole game. It's an addiction. There's no doubt. It's an addiction. I need to talk to someone.
This is it. This is the first step. This is the first step. How the game has evolved as well. Like, we've spoken about mentality, we've spoken about the tour level and stuff like that. Equipment. Okay. The equipment that you use and how, like, I know you go deep into this with Dooley.
Yeah.
Like, and Dooley is a great man for putting everything through its paces.
That's right.
See exactly what works, what doesn't work.
Right.
And he is methodical about how he goes. And I love looking at his stuff online. I think he's a great lad.
Yeah, we have great fun talking about stuff. And, you know, if I ask him a question, he'll go, "Test it, Tim, test it." You know, like, and I'd be going, "Come on, just tell me, Pádraig." Well, no, we'll go out and test it. And Pádraig likes to be meticulous about things, and we drive each other mad.
Like, even then, like, you broke a course record in Newlands this year. Right?
Yes.
And I played in that pro, and I was there and the night before, I remember speaking to the pro in Newlands, right? And the night before, you were on a putting green, last man there just before dark, with like a 50-year-old bullseye putter and the putter that you actually used before you shot 64 and equaled the course record.
Okay.
And you were very close to putting that 50-year-old putter in. What's the process?
Well, I mean, striving again for that little edge, you know. Maybe the bullseye putter they had in 1965 was the real answer. You know, maybe they knew more back in 65 that this bullseye just looked so straight and square. And these new modern putters was there. Things have fangs hanging off them. Maybe we've got it all wrong. So I'm going out there testing that. And then you hold a few putts, you think, no wonder. I know I was talked out of that by someone, Brian Cosgrove, I think, talked me out
Brian
of it.
Cosgrove, yeah.
Yeah, he talked me out of it. But this is the joy of golf. I think if every amateur goes through this, testing new clubs, you know, trying this, try that. You know, it's part of the pleasure of the game that we're able to do that. It's funny though. It's one of the few disciplines where you believe in your own diagnosis so much. You know. Like I go into my friend Rory, the dentist. I go in, I sit there, I open my gob, and he does, and I trust him. Then he comes to me for a lesson. And all of a sudden, he tells me exactly what his problem is. And he knows why he's crap. And I'm listening to this going, this guy, you know, Rory, will you stop? I know what your problem is. And we have this big argument. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting, it's the only sport where you listen to someone who's, you know, way higher handicap than you. If they say, "Oh, Peter, I think you're not turning your shoulders there," you'll go, "Oh, yeah, maybe he's right. You know, and you listen to anything if you're a golfer, you know. It's funny like that. But
you still chop and change quite a lot with your bag, don't you? What's in your bag?
I mean, maybe the reason I was lucky enough to top this Order of Merit was the fact that I didn't this year. I stuck to something. I could argue I stuck to Pádraig's clubs. I stuck to this kettlebell idea for long enough that I was able to keep being consistent. So there's a lesson there for me. Just stopped him, you know.
And in like I know you said you don't keep stats. I was looking at your stats from this year, like we call it. It's like on a different level than last year.
Okay.
Scoring wise, contending consistency wise, being there an awful lot. What, like, is there an area of your game that you look back at without having stats to back it up? Okay. In your own, like, was it your iron play? Was it your short game? Was it your putting? Or was it off the tee? What do you felt clicked?
It's the whole combination. People come into you and they say, "I'm driving the ball well, I'm hitting my irons poorly." I always think, well, if you're driving the ball poorly, you should be hitting your irons poorly, you should be chipping poorly. Because in golf, you should have one way of playing. As Jack Nicklaus also said, one swing for all shots, one system. And so what happens now, I've found a system that I'm sticking to, and that's why I've got the consistency. I'm sticking to a certain consistency, or a system, and I'm falling back on that system every time, which I didn't always do. So basically, every part of my game was much more solid in the last few years because I was doing the same thing on every shot. I used to hit the ball out of bounds regularly as an amateur. I couldn't control the ball. Now, through following certain steps, my bad shots are a lot better. But I'm only doing what I was coached to do by Howard Bennett, Jimmy Ballard, loads of other coaches
but
around.
You didn't always do it. That's the thing. You've kind of you've fallen in and out of it.
Fallen in and out of it. No, absolutely not. Maybe I'll be a superstar at 50. You know, maybe you know. But it's an example that I've been told how to play this game by much better teachers than me, and I haven't listened. right? And then I'm falling back doing the same stuff they told me, and actually coming to the same exercises they told me. So really, in many ways, anything I come up with in my own head, somewhere I've been told it before, and I'm just trying to package it all together. So
do you write these things down?
Oh, right. Listen, I have got pages. You wouldn't believe. I've got encyclopedia. No, it's probably not encyclopedia. I've got a Britannica of just mad golf notes.
Homework.
Oh, God. Yeah. You wouldn't want to see them. Yeah, they're not pleasant, some of them.
Yeah, it's a nice way. Like, where to next for Timmy Rice?
Okay. Well, we'll keep playing the game. We'll keep trying to teach people. Keep pretending I'm going to win the British Open. Try and get into some tournaments. And that's it, really. I hope. I guess teaching is where it's at for me now, because I love it, and hopefully through all the madness that I went through, I can avoid. People can avoid. If anyone comes for a lesson, they don't have to go through the same pitfalls. Especially if they're getting serious about their golf, I can guide them a little better. So I'd be very open to helping anyone in that regard. But I think what I like about still playing is that you can really relate to people when they come in, because you know it's yourself what they're going through, and you've been through it yourself. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to keep teaching. That's it.
Anyone that wants a good GAAP Howard Bennett special, where do they get you? Yeah. So Spawell, we know. Where else can?
Limerick Golf Club and Spawell. Yeah, and I'm not soliciting lessons here now. But
listen.
I'm talking about the PGA.
Every little helps.
I'm in Limerick Golf Club. I'm very lucky. Lee Harrington is happy for me to teach alongside him, and Peter and Spawell, Peter Lowry. So I got two places that I teach, and I really enjoy it. So that's the main thing.
Perfect. Well, Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Always enjoy the chats.
Hope we'll do it again.
Exactly. Hope this time next year, after you've played in the Irish Open, that's when we'll do it.
I think there's a few boys on the PGA circuit will have a few things to say about that.
So I'd like to thank Elavon as well, official partners of the PGA, for all that they've done this year and all they're committing to into next year as well with the PGA in Ireland. They really do. Getting sponsors like that involved, like Tim said at the start, just helps everything operate, helps bring, like, a rising tide raises all ships, as the man said. So on to next year. Well done again on this year, Peter. Tim. Great season. And cheers to everyone for tuning in, and we'll chat to you again soon.
All right, thank you.